Hello and welcome to the Faction Champions Guide from LearnToPlayWow.com. This encounter is made to simulate arena or battleground PvP play. This means that crowd control, focus fire and mass dispel are of great importance. The composition of the enemy NPCs may vary, but you will always seem to be facing 3 healers and 7 DPS. The first minute can determine the outcome of the entire battle. What is really important here is that you are able to quickly take down one of the enemies while as many of your own survive. Once the first NPC dies, the fight becomes a lot easier. We began the fight by focusing DPS on one of their healers, in this case the Paladin. He got double death gripped in order to be pulled away from the rest of his group. CCers took care of their assigned targets and we all used our cooldowns and bursted down the Paladin. While the raid DPS'd the Paladin, we needed to make sure that the other 2 healers are taken care of. And who better to take care of a healer than a rogue? Our 2 rogues interrupted the Shaman and the Resto Druid, with the Resto Druid also being banished in the beginning. When interrupted, the NPC healers don't get spell locked, not even for 2 seconds. Thus, even a rogue can have a hard time countering every spell. Obviously, rogues should focus on kick, gauge, stun rather than on DPS. They should also use mind numbing and wound poison. If you keep the rogues stun locking, then you need some other class with minus 50% heal effect on your main attack target. That means warriors with mortal strike or hunters with aimed shot. Once the Paladin was dead, the fight was halfway won. We just targeted and brought down the Shaman. However, because we started the fight by targeting healers, we ended up with a lot of enemy DPS roaming free, and by the time we finished with the Shaman, many of our members were also dead. This didn't prevent us from completing the encounter, but it is important to note that most of the CCs we had on the enemy DPS became pretty much useless because of diminishing returns and the mass dispel from the enemy priest. The enemy priest should be a priority for CC. After the Shaman was down, instead of going for the third healer, we just left the interrupters do their job and we switched our attacks to the enemy DPS. We took them down one by one in a long battle. On one of our other kills, we decided to just take down the healers one by one. This time there was a disciplined priest instead of a resto druid. Again, our first target got double death gripped in order to separate it from the rest of the enemy group. We then used all our cooldowns to bring it down fast. The other 2 healers had rogues on them. The enemy DPS got CC'd as much as possible. On a couple of our attempts, we tried, in the beginning of the battle, to focus fire on a DPS instead of a healer and to CC the healers. However, CCing so many is fairly difficult. You have to find your target within the enemies, CC it, and then switch back to the main DPS target. Lose too much time with that and you have not enough DPS to get down the main enemy target. To make the targeting and the CC process a bit easier, you can try setting focus on your CC target and then you can just assist another player to switch back to your main target. You can also try having teams of 2 players alternating CCs on one enemy and thus bypassing diminishing returns. It is useful to counter the enemy CCs with Mass Dispel and Tremor Totem. It is important to know that the NPCs don't respond to aggro and they just randomly target and focus on a player. However, this doesn't mean tanks are useless here. On the contrary, the NPCs can be taunted, and, at least for the duration of the taunt, they are not attacking DPS. Thus, our tanks taunted free targets until their targets became taunt immune. After that, they switched to a new target. This has been a guide from learntoplaywo.com. Thanks for watching.